Welcome to the Growth Inspired Tribe, where we keep it real about embracing change, aligning growth, and figuring life out without losing yourself in the process. From career pivots to rewriting the old stories placed on you by others, I'm exploring what it really means to build a life that feels aligned from the inside out. If you're navigating your own glow up, you're in good company. Today we're going to talk about the real reason you're treated like the problem in scenarios in workplace and other groups, organizations that you're a part of. If you've ever been in a situation where you notice that something didn't sit right and you say something about it and suddenly you were the problem. Not because you caused harm, not because you were being negative, but just because you stopped pretending not to see it. That happened to me, and let me tell you, it changed the way I move through work, friendships, organizations, and just life in general. And sometimes speaking up is going to make you the issue. So the moment you stop going along to get along, people will start treating you differently. You notice some unfairness, you mention something, maybe gently or really quick in passing, and the next thing you know, a shift begins. There's a group chat, it gets quieter, your messages don't get responded to, invitations slow down, and then at work is like the biggest culprit for this. You get passed up for promotions, you get pushed out of the job, they'll find little things to say, oh, she's not doing this, when in reality, everybody's doing it, but really you're just being targeted because you spoke out about a situation where there was true unfairness, where there was true boundaries being crossed, where somebody was being treated inhumane and you spoke up. And a lot of the times the ways that people penalize you don't really look obvious, but you feel it. And that's how passive aggressiveness works. And really, all of this boils down to this is happening to you because people don't always want the truth. They want comfort, and when your truth disrupts that comfort, now you're suddenly difficult, quote unquote. So let me tell you my story about remote work and retaliation that happened. So I was working remotely during the pandemic. And I started off doing answering HR calls, and then I got promoted to chat. Then I got promoted again as a full-time official representative. So I came in as a contract, and then I got promoted as full-time. So everything was going good until it wasn't. So they started pulling me and a few others off chat constantly to take phone calls. And it was the same few people every time. Meanwhile, there were others who never got touched. So I brought it up, respectfully. I brought it up with solutions. I made sure I wasn't complaining. I literally offered a system. So like a rotation, something fair. So me and the few others, we had gotten together. At first, it was a lot of complaints. And I was like, y'all, let's just think of a solution. Bring it up in a meeting with the managers and see if they are willing to go along with it to make sure it's fair. So we had our meeting, we set it up, and they nodded and they smiled and they thanked us for bringing it to their attention. And then less than a month later, I kid you guys, it hadn't even been 2 weeks, I don't even think. I kid you not. Every single person who spoke up got pulled into a meeting separately, by individually. And they were told the same thing. And for 2 of the calls, one of the girls, once we realized what happened, one of the girls was recording, or at least letting us listen in while it happened. And we found out they were saying the exact same. So they had the same script for all of us. So they told us that our chat numbers, your chat numbers have dropped. You'll be on the phones permanently. And I was like, well, of course they dropped. I haven't been on chat. So how would I keep the numbers up? But that didn't matter. And that was the moment I realized they weren't even looking for truth. They were hoping we stayed silent. And because we did speak up, The problem, instead of them doing the work to make it a schedule rotation so that everybody is treated fairly, they didn't want to do that. Maybe that would have been too much work. I think I maybe even offered, like, is this something that we can do on the meeting? I would have done that for them. But it needed to be fair, but they didn't want to change that. This is how that organization operated, and they saw us that spoke up as the problem, so they removed us from the chat group. So it is what it is, but that did happen to me. So sometimes there's going to be an inconvenience of when you're choosing to respect yourself. At that time, I had to pivot. I had to start applying the new roles like it was my side hustle, basically. Like, I studied for my HR certification for like an hour. And around all the time that this was going on, I was moving into a new place, and I had just moved into a new place. So I was unpacking. So it would literally be like, I wake up, I will have to do the job. I would study for an hour for my certification, then spend at least another hour or so looking for jobs that were aligned with companies I actually would like to work for. And then I had to pack, eat. At the time, I was still, very consistent with how I was working out. Now I'm very flexible and all over the place. But by the time it was nighttime, I was tired. So I was really overwhelmed, and I didn't like that. But I was happy that I was clear. Like, I was clear in what I was doing. Like, okay, this place is not going to be for me. I set my sights on it, but I need to remove myself. And I need to focus on what I can control. And when you realize you're being labeled a problem for naming what's really happening, you just stop chasing validation, and you just start building exits and ways to get out of that place. And eventually, I used that same certification to get a better job a few months later, one that actually honored like what I brought to the table, better pay, better boundaries, no regrets. Shout out to the best manager I've ever had at that job. The next job that I got after the certification, I love that manager. I don't want to say her name, but her name starts with an A. She's awesome, amazing. Shout out to her. But really, if you're in this situation, if this is you, and if you've been treated like the problem just for noticing one too many things, here's what I'll say about that. Just know that you're not crazy. Your read on the room is probably more accurate than they like to admit. And you don't have to explain it to everyone. Just protect your peace, move accordingly, and trust your timeline. For example, I didn't, broadcast, to everybody on the team what it was doing. There was one team lead she liked to really kind of, start drama and things like that. But I didn't give in to all of it. She would make little snide remarks, basically trying to mock the fact that we are off chat. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, okay, girl, I'll have the last laugh because I'm about to get the hell out of here. No, but you don't have to explain your move to everyone. Just work on what you can control, know why it's clear for you, and tell people after the fact. And also, you're not here to keep up a facade of normalized dysfunction. Like, you're here to grow. And sometimes that's going to make people uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you stop growing in order to accommodate people who aren't comfortable with you outside of what they're used to you being, or outside of what anybody in that role is used to you being, if it's in a workspace or if it's in an organization, a hobby that you do outside of work. If somebody is only okay with you if you're quiet and you don't speak up for yourself, or you don't call out when there's foul play, then guess what? It's not for you. And it is what it is. You just got to accept that. So yeah, if this hit home for you, just let me know in the comments, or send it to someone who's learning to choose like deep clarity for yourself over surface level comfort in certain places. And if you have been in a situation like this, like workspace, friendship, even family dynamics, I love to hear how you handled it, because as truth tellers, we need each other. We need that support. And remember also that you're not difficult. You're just not easy to gaslight. This world will favor you if you're easy to be manipulated. Thanks for tuning in. For more reflections on personal growth, intentional living, and life beyond the ordinary, make sure to hit subscribe. And you can also follow along on the blog at britneymctier.substack.com and join the Growth Inspired Tribe. So it's a space where we share grounded tools, deep insights, and soulful, good for the soul strategies to grow from where we are to where we're meant to be.